I hear you, but so it's all of it. I want to turn now to a different subject because I think it's a lot of people watching know how remarkable it is that you have the energy and to do what you're doing, given the fact that you're dealing with a family tragedy. You lost your son, you had 25-year-old Tommy, to depression. You wrote a very moving reflection on his, quote, perfect heart, a perfect soul, a riotously outrageous and relentless sense of humor, and a dazzling radiant mind.
My wife Sarah and I wrote this together.
Tell us more about Tommy.
Tommy was a remarkable person. He had overwhelming love for humanity and for our country in his heart, and really for all the people of the world. We lost him on the very last day of that god-awful year, 2020, and he left us a note which said, "Please forgive me, my illness won today. Look after each other, the animals, and the global poor for me. All my love, Tommy." And that was the last act in a life that dazzled anybody who came into contact with Tommy. He was a slam poet who wrote these magnificent 20, 30-minute poems, which he, of course, knew by heart, and he would get up and perform them. He was absolutely devoted to human rights for every person. He was devoted to animal rights and welfare. He was a passionate vegan and convinced a lot of people to stop eating animals just through the force of his poetry. He was a second-year student at Harvard Law School.
He was a beautiful kid.
When we lost him, he had not only beloved friends at Harvard Law School, but he was teaching a course with Michael Sandel, Justice, as a teaching fellow at the college, and so he had students of his own, and he graded all of his papers and exams and wrote many pages analyzing the work of the students and writing back to them, and he made donations in each of their names to different charitable groups that he thought would be consistent with the values of the student, and so some of them went to Give Directly or to Oxfam or so on, and I asked him why he did that, and he quoted something that Father Berrigan had said about the great Dorothy Day. He said, like Father Berrigan said about Dorothy Day, she lived as though the truth were true. And he said, I want to show them that the truth is true and we can live that way. So, people are asking me why I decided to do this. First of all, I don't know if you've ever tried to say no to Speaker Pelosi about anything, but she's actually been very sensitive and thoughtful, but she wanted me to do it because she knows that I've devoted my life to the Constitution and to the Republic. I'm a professor of constitutional law, but I did it really with my son in my heart and helping lead the way. I feel him in my chest. When we went to count the Electoral College votes and it came under that ludicrous attack, I felt my son with me, and I was most concerned with our youngest daughter and my son-in-law, who's married to our other daughter, who were with me that day, who got caught in a room off of the House floor, and between them and me was a rampaging armed mob that could have killed them easily and was banging on the doors where they were hiding under a desk with my chief of staff, Julie Taken. These events are personal to me, Jake. There was an attack on our country. There's an attack on our people. There are thousands of people who work on Capitol Hill, not just members, but staff members and Capitol Hill police officers who were pushed and shoved and punched in the face, pummeled and hit over the head with fire extinguishers. And the President of the United States did nothing to stop it for more than 2 hours as members of Congress were calling him and begging him to do something. And he continued to watch it on TV and to enjoy their, insurrection tailgate party where they were celebrating the attack on our democracy. This president has been impeached already twice, and we just want the Senate to conduct a serious trial where every member of the Senate lives up to his or her constitutional oath to render impartial judgment as a juror.
Congressman, I can't even begin to express my condolences for what you and your wife and your daughters and family are dealing with. I can't also imagine having that trauma compounded with this other trauma. You just lost your son, and now you're in Congress worrying about your daughter and your other daughter's husband because of these terrorists who had attacked the Congress. That trauma on top of trauma just seems so debilitating.
Well, I'm not going to lose my son at the end of 2020 and lose my country and my republic in 2021. It's not going to happen. The vast majority of American people, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, reject armed insurrection and violence as a new way of doing business in America. We're not going to do that. This was the most terrible crime ever by a president of the United States against our country. And I want everybody to feel the gravity and the solemnity of those events. At the same time, of course, that all of us are deeply invested in President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris moving the country forward to repair all of the wreckage and the damage of last year on everything from COVID-19 to the economy. But I was thinking on the way over this morning, Jake, about the preamble of the Constitution. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and promote the general welfare, and preserve to ourselves and our posterity the blessings of liberty, do hereby ordain and establish. We have to do all of those things at the same time. We have to establish justice. We have to ensure domestic tranquility. At the same time, we are promoting the general welfare. But this is America, and the people are up to it. And we've got a new administration coming to town that is ready to lead America back on the road of progress.
As somebody who watched your son deal with this disease of depression,
Yes.
I have to also note that so many Americans right now have been struggling with mental health during this pandemic, and then frankly during this time of insurrection, during this time where it seems like millions of Americans, because they have been lied to over and over by the president and his allies in Congress and in the media, believe this big lie. 1 in 4, according to the CDC, 1 in 4 Americans under the age of 25 have seriously considered taking their own lives in the last 30 days, according to the CDC. 1 in 4. What is your message to people who are dealing with this horrible disease, or to the loved ones they have? As a dad who watched your beloved Tommy struggle with this disease.
Well, we don't want to lose anybody else. We've been hearing from thousands and thousands of people across the country, and if any of them are out there, thank you for your kindness to our family, and we will somehow get a chance to reply to everyone. But your messages, your heartfelt messages, come as a comfort and a solace to us, and we know how many millions of people have struggled with depression, how many millions of families have dealt with it, and there are obviously complicated neurochemical and psychological causes to that, and we want to make sure we're investing the resources of the country to deal with it. So one day there'll be a year where nobody loses their life because of depression and other forms of emotional and mental illness.
But on a personal note, if you could speak to the people out there who are struggling, or who have loved ones who are struggling, what do you want to tell them?
I would say that as someone wrote me, it's a permanent answer to a temporary condition and predicament. And I don't mean to understate it, because we know how much terrible pain our son was in. One of our daughters said that Tommy was above all a utilitarian. He wanted to promote the happiness and the well-being for as many people and as many animals as possible, and reduce as much pain and suffering as possible. So if he did this, Tabitha said, he weighed the pain and suffering that would be caused to us against the pain and suffering that he was going through, the agony that he was going through, and found that that was worse. Or, Tabitha said, he committed the very first selfish act of his life. She didn't believe that he did that. He was not a selfish person. He lived in honor of the people he loved. He loved his family, and we loved him. He loved his friends, and they loved him.
But as you note, it's a permanent solution for a temporary problem. The problem can be dealt with. The problem can be treated. The problem can go away.
Well, that's what I meant to say. We can get people through this. You must speak to people in your family. You must speak to your doctor. You must call 911 if you're alone and that's necessary. Don't go down that road. That's very clear to us. And I'm no expert, but I know that we can address it. We can deal with it together. So I'm hoping that everybody understands that there's a lot of love out there. You know, in Tommy's case, the outpouring of love and affection for him has been absolutely astounding. We set up a memorial fund, the Jaimie Raskin Fund for People and Animals, which now has more than like $400,000 in it. His classmates at Harvard Law School raised like $5,000 or $6,000 to put that in so that the causes he believed in would keep going. But we don't have to wait for people to die, for people to listen to them. We can listen to you right now.
Exactly. We are here. We are here.
We are here for you.
And Congressman, I want to thank you for coming here and sharing the story, and anything we can do to help in terms of promoting the Jaimie Raskin Fund or anything else. May his memory be a blessing. Let me just tell our viewers, if you are feeling as though you are in crisis in any way, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. Congressman, again, thanks for being with us.
And thank you for having me, Jim.
May Jaimie Raskin's memory be a blessing. We'll be right back after this.